Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nello Reads channel. Our first malicious compliance story of the day comes from an anonymous poster, a very embarrassed lady. So, some years ago, I was doing a summer job working for my mom as her secretary. She's a doctor. I never looked like my mom and nobody knew I was her daughter. Patients just thought I was some intern or student. During all summer, this mean old lady came to the office almost every 2 days. Not to see the doctors each time, but to sort of hang out in the secretary's office and chat, or ask for test results or whatever, but mainly to spend time and complain about everything. The usual secretary often indulges her, because she's a regular, but she was on her holiday and I was the only one she could talk to, and talk she did. She was racist, anti-everything, hypocritical, and above all, like I said, just plain mean. I always put up a facade with her, polite and smiling, and she seemed to love to teach life to a young girl like I was. One day, she decided to talk very badly about her doctor, my mom. She thought I was new and didn't know my boss very well and was bolder than usual. She said all sorts of horrible things about her, trying to spread rumors about her carelessness or bad practice. Then, she asked me a medical question about her test result. Sweetly, I asked her if she just wants me to call the doctor to answer the question, since I'm not allowed to look at her file. Oh no, don't bother. The doctor never answers her phone. She just doesn't care. Mrs. D, your well-being is important. You should have the answer you're looking for. Let me try. If she sees her secretary's number on her phone, maybe she'll answer. So I picked up the phone and called her. When she responded, because she always responds or calls back, I looked the old lady in the eyes with my biggest smile and said, "Hi, Mom. I just had a long and interesting conversation with Mrs. D. She has some questions. Could you talk to her?" The face of this old hag when she realized she talked crap about the doctor in front of her daughter was priceless, and my favorite memory of the summer. My mom said to me that she didn't come back for 3 months, and never talked again in front of any secretary. Honestly, if I were that lady, I would just have to switch doctors immediately. Like, the amount of embarrassment she must have felt is just, it's too much. I can feel it through the monitor. Just wow. Our next story comes from the Angry Arcanist. Stop complaining about the neighbors. Okay, sure. This story is very recent, and the "I told you so" effect is never as sweet as this was. I moved into an apartment with a roommate last summer. When we first came in, the biggest part of the sale was the fact that the apartment was freshly renovated and soundproof. This one is important, and you'll see why. So, when we got in, my roommate immediately fell in love with it, and I did too. When we moved in, we were very careful not to bother anyone, as we wanted to have a good relationship with our neighbors. Oh, did you see the new neighbors? They only moved during the day. They don't make sound during the night. What nice people, kind of deal. And we can safely say it worked. What we did not know, however, is that there were only 3 renters when we first came in. Us on our floor, another family upstairs on the opposite side, and another one on the 3rd floor, with one empty apartment between us. Turns out, the soundproof statement was accurate, but only in regards to the inside to outside situation. When our upstairs neighbors moved in, it was a total nightmare. Sound from 5 a.m. to past midnight, 5 days in a row. Dropping stuff, speaking loudly, yelling, or walking in their apartment with shoes on. Out of frustration, on the 5th day, I walk upstairs and meet my neighbor at midnight. I asked them to cease their activities for the night. I have work in the morning and I cannot be kept up all night. I understand they were freshly moved in and might have had a tight schedule, but midnight was too late to be moving stuff. He didn't reply and closed the door on me. I go downstairs and the sound starts over again. I notified my landlord and he told me he'd handle it, and apologized for the situation. He explained to me that my neighbor was just moving from another country, and that he probably probably didn't understand what I was saying because of the language barrier. The neighbors were extremely loud. I know a lot of Karens will use that as an excuse to shower their neighbors with hate, but when I say loud, I mean it. There was no stop to their loud noises. It seemed like they couldn't be bothered to hold something without dropping it, or jumping up and down on the floor, or purposely banging the bed frame against the wall when having fun time. I recorded the event, and even installed microphones in my home plugged into my computer. They would activate and record every time there was a strong vibration in the house. Over 98 events on Monday, February 14th. I was livid. I sent that to the landlord and explained that this cannot continue. First, the apartment was poorly soundproofed, which meant we were hearing every dang sound at all times. Second, we had notified the neighbors about the situation, and they had ignored it. Third, I had notified the landlord to tell them about our situation. I reported the issue several times, and even advised my landlord that there were very heavy-sounding thuds coming from upstairs, which worried me. He answered with, "Stop complaining about your neighbors already. I have other things to do." I answered, "Understood, sir. Please be advised, this will be my last communication and action to help you in that regard." You know, when I said I heard loud bangs? Turns out our upstairs neighbor was doing bench press lifting in his living room, and the heavy thuds I kept hearing was him dropping his weights on the ground. I had warned my roommate about removing anything she didn't want broken from the living room, and lo and behold, 4 days later, the first crack appeared. Then another. The floor was giving up. I moved the couch out of the way and moved the TV and consoles into the bedroom. Fast forward to 3 days ago, after another series of loud bangs, I hear a loud crack, followed by an OF, followed by very loud noises. I went to the living room to see my neighbor on the ground with several actually gruesome injuries due to the fact that he just went through the floor and brought his bench and weight rack with him. I called an ambulance and the police. The police asked me if I reported the issue with my landlord, which I could confirm. Due to my communications being made via email, I sent everything, and I am now, of course, filing to break my lease due to uninhabitable dwelling. The landlord came in yesterday and just proceeded to explode. Told me I should have made him aware that my neighbor was doing dangerous things, to which I answered I had notified him about the very loud sounds and he never investigated, and that he also ordered me to stop complaining about my neighbors. It was not my responsibility to go out of my way to protect his assets if he was unwilling to cooperate with me. My neighbor's roommate and I are now residing in a hotel until we can find a new place to live. We are now also looking towards adding a bit more salt to the injury by maybe filing for criminal negligence against both our landlord and the neighbor. The first because the apartment apparently had some flaws, and the latter for endangering us. Had I not caught up on what caused the sound earlier, me, or God forbid, my roommate, could have been under that. Anyway, it was a fun week, and I do enjoy the accommodations of my hotel. Never went to a 4-star spa-included hotel before. Turns out, the chocolate on the pillow is a lie, and I am very disappointed about that. Update. My brother has agreed to take the case and look at our options. We are not feeling very vindictive, and our insurance is going to cover most of the costs. So we might just file for negligence. I'm not a lawyer myself, I don't know the terms in English, but basically, the landlord should have had his building inspected before renting, which was apparently not done. The landlord has apparently calmed down after the events and has apologized for everything. He has scheduled a visit from an inspector to check the integrity of the apartment and the cause of the damage that would have allowed a human and exercise equipment to go through the floor and ceiling. In exchange for not pressing charges, he has agreed to reimburse all the money we have invested into the rent, our stay at the hotel, a little extra as an apology, and the guarantee to either repair the apartment and soundproof it properly, or if it is not an option to go back, he will relocate us onto another one of his buildings, which are a lot better than what we had. Reduce our rent quite significantly for as long as we stay, with papers to back his offer up, and a full year of free rent. This is actually quite generous in the current rent market. I'm leaving the final say to my roommate. On my end, I was not injured, she was not, and this could have been just a freak accident. Yes, the landlord is a bit of a butt, but let's be honest, we've all had worse, landlord-wise. Plus, even if we take him up on his offers, the upstairs neighbor might be looking for some severe reparation. He did get injured after all. But we would be happy to hear about your opinion. What would you say? Take this further or just take the refund plus the full year, rent-free year, and then low rent for the years to come? Honestly, if I were OP, I'd probably take the landlord's deal. Although I've never been involved with one, I've heard that legal battles can be quite an awful thing to go through. They last years, they're draining, and you could lose and walk away with literally nothing. The third story comes from Ghoul Defender. Threatened to cancel your account? No problem, buddy. It's already done. A couple of years ago, I used to work at a call center for a popular company by the name of Netflix. I'm only name dropping because nobody works at that center anymore due to the fact they laid everyone off who didn't want to move to another state. You would not believe the amount of abuse and stupidity I would have to deal with, unless you've worked at a call center, that is, on a day-to-day basis. Questions could range from, so when do you guys install the Netflix? To, can't you just make an account for me? With my personal favorite being, what's this email you're talking about? I only have Gmail. And the worst being, how could you take money out of my account? Now I can't feed my children. Anyway, dealing with abusive customers and having the entire site closed down eventually takes its toll. And near the end, I had little empathy for customers who were rude to me. There was one thing I loved about working there, however. We never had to try to keep customers or upsell them anything. As long as we did the job correctly, our team leads would almost always back us up if a call was escalated. Then Netflix had its price hike and wasn't able to stream on older devices anymore due to technical issues. You could not imagine the amount of people calling to threaten to cancel because they believed we had the power to individually accompany their wants and needs. Cue malicious compliance. I had this particularly nasty lady whose account was on hold due to lack of payment. She initially called because she was outraged she would have to pay $2 extra in 3 months when the price hike took effect. Once I informed her she couldn't stream anyways due to the lack of payment, she yells, "What if I just go ahead and cancel my account then, huh?" And like everybody else who threatens this, they severely overestimate my ability to give a crap. She had already stated that she wanted to cancel the account, and that was all the permission I needed to close it. So after her threat, I tell her, "There's no need, ma'am. I've already taken care of it for you," in my cheery call center voice that I only reserve for children and irate customers. She explodes at me and demands my supervisor. Now, like most call centers, all our calls are recorded, and our supervisors can go back and listen to any call. Since she had stated she had wanted to cancel, albeit maybe a little sarcastically, I was in the clear. Turns out she really didn't want to cancel, but since her account was officially closed, she would not only need to pay the original amount to restart it, but the new price hike as well, since the system recognized it as a new account, whereas old accounts were slowly being price changed. Call center agents take so much crap from people every day. I'm amazed any of them are still sane. So good on OP for being able to fight back and not get fired for it either. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and I'll see you in the next video.